Okay, today we are going to be reading The Hawk Can Soar on pages 239 to 242. I am getting a cold, so forgive my voice. And as always, there might be a dog barking in the background. This is from a memoir about, it's written by Randy Davenport. And she writes about her long, painful struggle with a rare type of degenerative disease. She experienced the onset of the disease in her 30s when she began to suffer from stiffness, temporary loss of coordination, and deep fatigue or tiredness. Over time, these symptoms became more severe, and her physical abilities slowly diminished. She finally found a doctor who properly diagnosed the disease, but she eventually learned that nothing can be done to stop its progression. She continued to have hope and to fight on, and learning to appreciate what her new life can now offer her. And so let's start. The Hawk Can Soar. Excuse me. I'm reading from the HMH online version, so I keep having to zoom in and zoom out. All right, paragraph 1. I push the walker in front of me, its front wheels larger than the wheels in back. My right leg drags a little. My right foot drops. When I don't have the rollator in front of me, if you look on the bottom, it says a rollator is a frame on wheels used to provide support and balance for walking. When I don't have the rollator in front of me when I try to walk unaided, I have to bring my right hand up to my waist to create my own version of balance. Elbow clamped to my side, stiffness where most other people have swing. I'm also weak, spastic. I wear braces for balance and support. How many times has some biotechnician cradled my feet in his or her hands, stroking the wrapping in place from which a new brace will be cast? I cannot count, but I recall each time as if it were the same as the time before, the same as the time yet to come. So if we pause here and look over at the question in the margin there, the margin being the side of the paper, it says analyze diction and syntax, and it says annotate, which we know means to take notes on the text. It says mark a repeated structure in paragraph 2. So let's go back to paragraph 2. One of our learning targets is to pay attention to the structure of the text. And if you look at the last line on the paper, which is the last line of paragraph 2, it says, but I recall, the second to last line, I recall each time as if it were the same as the time before, the same as the time yet to come. So if you can underline or highlight that repetition there, where it says, same as the time before, and the last line there in paragraph 2, the same as the time yet to come. And then you're going to deal with that repetition in a question that's going to be coming up on the worksheet. All right, so let's turn the page to 240. Sorry. Paragraph 3. My hands quake with tremors, as do my father's hands, and as did his father's hands before him. But I'm the lucky one. I'm the one who gets the disease, a rare form of motor neuron disease in its full expression. My father and grandfather didn't even know they had a disease, transmitted in an autosomal dominant pattern, the geneticist said. They stopped being able to walk in their 70s and 80s and decided that this was caused by other things, perhaps by the nature of being old men, or a failure of the will to move, or the inconstant beating of their own blood. It begins for me in my 30s. When I'm out running, my right foot goes out from under me, then comes back into position. It's nothing, I think, but over time it happens more and more frequently. And other things come too, in silent waves. I stiffen like a tree trunk. I cannot easily rise from a chair. I cannot climb a flight of stairs. I cannot live my life without being overcome with a profound fatigue, an exhaustion so deep and unmeasurable that I weep when I don't have the strength to make dinner. I tell myself I'm working too hard, trying to do too much, that all single parents are beset by weariness without end. I stop running and walk instead. When I can no longer walk any distance, I go to the gym. When I can no longer tolerate the gym, I go to the pool. But each new environment is a landscape of loss. What I could do and no longer can. What I can't do, an irrefutable presence, as if lack has a shape and a weight. Can we go back to page 240? If you look at the question in the margin about analyzing text structure, it says to annotate, to mark words that indicate the passage of time in paragraph 4. So we're looking for things that talk about the starting or the ending of things, or her age, or things happening faster or more often. So if you look in paragraph 4, if you can underline in the beginning of, well, the word is begins, it says it begins, so that marks the passage of time when something starts. That's the second word in paragraph 4. And then a couple of words after that, in my 30s, so that's the age that it started for her. And then a couple lines down from that, it says, but over time it happens more and more frequently. So that's saying that the symptoms were happening more often. So if you can underline that too, more and more frequently. And there's Diesel whining at the door. Sorry about that. All right, let's turn back to page 241, and we're picking up with paragraph 6. A colleague at work points out my constant limp. I shrug. By this time, I have seen neurologists at Duke and Johns Hopkins. They're baffled. Something is wrong. On exam, my big toes point up. My reflexes jump. My muscles catch. My index finger shivers in a sign of a spinal lesion, but they can't say what. Only when I finally see a neuromuscular disease specialist at the big teaching hospital in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, do I find the doctor who knows what's gone wrong. In time, he delivers the news that I cannot be cured. I can only grow worse, my disability increasing in insidious increments that he will track by seeing me every 3 months. Paragraph 7. Time passes. We watch, this doctor and I, as my disease moves through me. It's languid, quiet, but it moves. I grow weaker. I atrophy in discrete regions, my right foot, and then my left, and then my right hand. But I don't waste. I grow fat from immobility, and then I grow thin again. I want to live as who I was, not as what this disease makes of me. This idea is a chimera. I think I said that wrong. Where is it? Oh, it's at the bottom of the page. Chimera? Well, let's look down. A mental illusion. Yeah, chimera? Chimera? I think it's chimera. Anyway, sorry. So let's go back to halfway down paragraph 3. This idea is a chimera, but it helps me to think that I am fighting. I am a fighter. I always have been, even when I cannot win. At other time in my life, I might have viewed this as a pathological neurosis akin to tilting at windmills. Now I think of it as a saving grace. These tales I tell myself, the way I plan to escape fate, all to keep myself going. Paragraph 8. Eventually, however, I am disabled. Disabled. Like this word is the sum total of my existence. That dragging leg, that dropping foot, that unbearable fatigue. A woman with a rollator moving slowly through the world. These things signal my difference whenever I move. They are obvious, unrestrained. Soon, I leave my university career. I slowly begin to disappear from view. The things I have earned seem ever further away. This is the nature of this difference, I realize. The way disability stands in for everything you were or ever would have been. Even when you say it will not. Even when you refuse its existence. Disability is contemptuous of your refusal. It scoffs at your desperate concern. It pushes forward and it drags you after it. I develop a serious side effect, a comorbidity, my doctors call it. I nearly die. It doesn't matter that I said I would fight to stay upright. It doesn't matter that I have resisted the wheelchair. My body has other plans, and it doesn't consult me. It is my own, and yet it is blind to my dreams, my desires. Weirdly, I begin to understand that I am but a part of my body. My body is not a part of me. Thus subordinated, I live. Then I keep on living. All right, last page, page 242. This story should end with an epiphany, a moment when I discover that I can still soar. How we love this narrative in America. The ultimate act of bootstrapping, refusing to give in to a body you cannot control and that medicine is hopeless to cure. And I nearly have such a moment. Leaning against my car in a gas station by the side of a highway pumping gas, I see a man standing next to a pickup truck. An unremarkable sight save that he has a huge hawk on his arm. The hawk is unblinded, its hood draped over its neck like a collar, but is lashed to the glove on the man's arm like a dog to a post. Unaccountably, it sees me and it tilts its head, and then it tilts its head again. What are you looking at, I think? As I so often think. But I wave to the man and I call, "Beautiful bird." He nods and says they've been out hunting. It's a dreary morning. Mist hanging in veils over the fields, a purplish tinge to the distant trees. I cannot imagine hunting in the rain with a bird aloft, but then I do. The rivulets of water standing in the farm ditches, the fresh scent of the pines, the breeze lifting the sky and then lifting the sky again, each cloud turning. For just a moment my heart lifts, and as if to answer me, the hawk rises and spreads its wings and then flaps back into place, gives itself a shake as it strains against its bindings, and then looks at me again, the expressionless lights of its eyes seeming to say, "What are you going to do?" "Nothing," I say. "I can do nothing." I finish pumping my gas and holding on to the side of my car for balance, and I return the nozzle to its cradle, turn and climb back into the driver's seat, and point my car south towards home. A few minutes later, the man and the hawk are gone, and nothing is left but the road ahead, a colt unknown, and yet so familiar by now that I feel every turn in my failing neurons, in my ever hopeful bones.